Good evening, everyone. My name is Katherine Davis, right here at the New Rhythm Arts Center. We say welcome to you. We're here once a week, and we have just so many events that are going on here that is so great and so powerful within the Rogers Park community. Again, my name is Katherine Davis. I want to say thank you so much for all of my followers and the New Rhythm Arts Center, Alicia and Alex and everyone, all my friends and fans who are out there in Facebook land who tune in to our show every week or every other week. It all depends. But no matter how much we come on, we are always going to have someone special on our show. I'd like to say thank you so much to Department of Cultural Affairs because they are one of our supporters who help keep my program together, inviting friends who are in the entertainment business or out there in the arts world. Um, Wanting to know, get into their business. That's one of the. I'm not the inquirer, but I want to know more about them than what outside says about them. And everybody we have, they're quite interesting artists out here, and so. With this, I have the opportunity to tap in on uh, this type of energy that is so powerful and magical, and I hope that you enjoy it as much as I do and we do. Um, Today, I have a friend, a professional. Just he's professional in every way. We met maybe 40 years ago, and then. We went our separate ways and everything, and then we got back together about two years ago. David Tepper, and I forgot where we saw each other, but we just clicked just like that when we got together, right, David?
We did.
And so he reminded me, of course, who he was, because with this all the fogginess that's going on, and everything. I was like, oh my gosh, where? Let me try to remember back to where But when you said where we were, I immediately
Yeah.
went back. And so now here we are, and you are doing so many amazing projects that's just so important to us. Your care for humanities, your care for the respect that you show for people, and I'm just honored to have you here, and we want to get to know more about you and your work because you do have different projects you're working on and programs as well. And so I said I wanted to ask you a question, David, that would open up the conversation. You can go anywhere you want to go, and describe to us. Your experiences on, because you pretty much you did all this on your own, right? Your professions, all the different programs or projects you have, you created these on your own, correct?
90% of them I did.
90%. Okay.
Yeah, some were brought to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my question is, and I already had asked you, David, I noticed that when you came over to Irwin's house and you were taking pictures of me and Irwin, you wanted Irwin to wear a hat.
Yes.
And I noticed that because you do take pictures of a lot of us blues artists, that most of the men are wearing hats. And so I wanted to ask you, what is it about hats that fascinate you in photography? Or with the blues artist people or whatever? I mean, is this for everyone?
That's a great question. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's an
Hmm.
honor to be here with you. Um, and this great space. It's really nice.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. That's an interesting question. When I came to Irwin's, um, I knew Irwin wasn't feeling well or hadn't been feeling well.
Hmm.
And so I actually brought my stepfather's hat. And my
Mhm.
stepfather passed away a number of years ago, and I got his fedora. And I thought it would be fun because I had seen Irwin in different hats in photographs, and I said, well, let me just bring it. And I told my mother, and it just made her day. I speak to my mother every morning at 8 o'clock. And I told her that's what I was going to do.
Where is she?
She's in Chicago.
Okay.
And I thought it would make her smile, and I thought it would make it easier on Irwin as well. But many blues people, men and women, wear hats. And I think when I photographed you, you had a hat on. You had a red hat. And I know when I photographed Lynn Jordan, she brought a few hats.
Yeah.
So I think the blues and hats go together because it's really, hats are part of I don't know if it's a costume or if it's part of a persona that someone wants to put out there or display. But that's an interesting question. And you're right, no one's ever asked me that. Many bluesmen have their own hats. Andre Taylor did. Odie Payne Jr. the third did. Toronzo Cannon did.
Detroit Junior.
Detroit Jr. many years ago. He would wear hats. So I think that was just part and parcel. I didn't tell people to wear hats. They just came with hats.
So blues and hats go together.
Blues and hats go together. And if you see pictures of Robert Johnson, of course, not on stage as much. And most photographers who make pictures of blues artists, they want their faces to be screwed up. You know, I mean, really, they want to screw their faces up and really show emotion and power. And I didn't want to do that. I figured there's enough people doing that. I did the project for two reasons. One, I've always loved the blues. Always. Ever since I heard Louis Prima when I was about 3 years old.
Yeah.
But I figured that the artists during the pandemic especially weren't working, and they could use some nice portraits for their website or for their marketing as well. And so those were the two goals: my love for the art form, the blues,
and helping us put our bios together, because a lot of us didn't have photos.
Right.
To go along with our bios.
That's right. The only photos you had were photographs of you on stage. And those are fine, and those are appropriate for certain things, but that's not appropriate for, publicity.
Right.
For all publicity. And so those are the two reasons I did this project. And it's still a long way off. I'm still doing it. But of course, we still have the pandemic we have to worry about and the new variants. And while I've been vaccinated and I've had the booster myself, you don't know where everyone has been.
Right.
And so.
And they're not going to tell us.
Right. And so I'm doing it once a week, photographing people. Just once a week for that reason, so that we give a break to see how we feel, and when the session is done. And also I do other things in my life as well, so I have to pay attention to all things.
Right. And you're an educator as well, aren't you?
I am an educator. I teach photography workshops as well as I teach in college. I teach computer networking and cybersecurity. I had a career in both. Well, they're linked together. So I had a career and transitioned to education about 15 years ago. I started the transition. About 10 years ago, I went full time to becoming an educator and a photographer. Education gives me time off during the summers to be able to do the photography.
It's a lot of fun too, isn't it? Because you get to.
It is a lot of fun, and
connect with musicians and.
It's also being of service.
Yeah.
And helping change people's lives.
Yeah.
Through education and through photography, so they're linked together.
They're linked together.
Yeah.
Just like the blues and history, they're all together.
It is. It is, and Yeah. Do you see Nina Simone as a blues singer or a jazz singer?
I see her more in the jazz vein.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I could see she could go in
Right, she could
both
go either
directions.
way.
Yeah.
Right, and but see, she accompanies herself on
That's
piano,
right.
so
Yeah.
she could go anywhere she wants to
Absolutely.
go.
Yeah.
But as a vocalist, I have to rely on the musicians
Right.
to know
Yep.
what I want. And the only way you can really get them to know what you want is if you have to keep giving them work.
Right.
Because a lot of times the work are part of our rehearsals,
Absolutely.
you know.
But it goes back to blues and history because I see Nina Simone as kind of groundbreaking in many ways. You know,
Right.
I mean, her response to events, current events of the time in song, was very powerful, as the blues are.
Right.
And so that's why I can see her both in blues and jazz too.
You know, she was a civil rights activist, and
Absolutely.
so what I remember growing up and listening to music and hearing the adults talk about who they liked in the music business. Everybody pretty much loved like Dinah Washington, Ella Fitzgerald,
Right.
Sarah Vaughan.
The standards.
Right, right. And so Nina Simone was more in that vein going towards civil rights. And so people were like, they were not so, they were hesitant with that because they didn't want to be labeled as a militant. Because her music did go that route. So,
And she paid the price for it.
right, and she did. She paid a price for it.
Right.
And so did Billie Holiday.
Absolutely.
So did all of them. Miles, Monk, Coltrane. They all did. And even like with the blues artists, like with Muddy and Howlin' Wolf and many of the other pioneers in the music world, they paid prices too, but the playing in juke joints and everything, that was like you had to get fun out of it.
Right.
Playing in the juke joints, in the South, you could have fun with whatever you had. But on the jazz scene, it was serious because
Right.
had more knowledge about the structure of theory, and so it was like you couldn't you didn't see happiness on their faces, but though you might feel the happiness through their playing their music, but the happiness was they were more serious. I mean, no, either style was serious, but they reacted to it in a different type of way. So, and at least that's how I look at it. The blues musicians were. I'll tell you what I saw with the rhythm and blues musicians and the blues musicians. When I first started going to the north side from the south side, it was all rhythm and blues, funk, and jazz. On the north side, it was they wanted just straight ahead blues. They didn't want to mix 12-bar blues, 8-bar blues they didn't even want to mix an 8-bar blues.
Right. Or a 16.
Into it, or 16-bar blues.
Right. And certainly no bridge.
Right.
You certainly didn't go into 32 bars.
Right.
Because that's the typical jazz.
Right.
Or
Whereas R&B, you could just stay on the one and just feel it out and just stay on the one.
Absolutely.
And the songs were different, but could do the medleys.
Yeah.
You could sing the medleys and everything. So it was a difference there. But with photography, I work at the Smart Museum
Right.
and of visual arts, and so music and visual arts is like, I'm like, now how can I put them together? How can I put photography, even though, like you said, that's what you capture in a person, and you capturing these personalities or whatever feelings that they're feeling or their thoughts, you're capturing that. And as a singer on stage, I do the same thing. I'm looking out at my audience. And then of course being in theater as well, because in
Right.
theater we were taught don't look at the audience, look at the back of the wall. And when you look at the back of the wall, you're looking at it looks like you're looking through the camera.
Right.
You're looking at
right.
everybody.
You're looking over their heads, right? And to everybody and no one in particular,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
There's different types of photography. There are many great photographers out there. I have friends who are wonderful photographers who do a lot of media. Um, Sandro Miller. He's one of the world's top-notch photographers. He lives here in Chicago. He's worked with Malkovich, goes around the world. Just a great guy. And
Now, have you traveled around the world?
I have, but he works more with ad agencies, right? So he's on a different level. In that aspect. So that's one kind of photography. Howard Greenblatt.
Yeah, I know him. Yes.
Yeah, he's a great photographer.
him on
He's
the
been
blues
doing
scene.
it forever, and he goes to all the events. He's an event photographer, and he does some great work. I'm not an event photographer, and I don't work with ad agencies. So we all have to find our own way.
So
I'm
do
more
you
of a
find blues as an outlet for yourself as you're doing this?
Well, I've always loved the blues. I grew up in Europe. I was born and raised in Italy, and blues was everything. They have some great Italian blues artists back in the 70s. Roberto Ciotti was a wonderful guy. But I saw Miles in the 70s in Milan. I saw Muddy Waters, and I've seen all sorts of people by being in Europe. And it was a lot of fun.
I'm sure that they treated them well, because I know when the times I went to Italy, they treated me so wonderful. Yeah, it made me feel really special.
There wasn't the kind of racism that I've seen in the United States.
Yeah.
Or it's different. And in Europe, people were people. It's a little different now. And it's a little, and the reason it's a little different now because Africans started being hired by the soccer teams, and Italians don't like that.
Ooh.
The soccer's like, the second coming for them, and if there's someone of color on the team who's doing well, beating them, well, wait a second, you're stepping on toes. But back in the 70s, there really wasn't any racism that I noticed. Maybe there wasn't, I didn't know. There was religious racism. I'm Jewish, and I'd experienced a little bit. But it's different, than the racism that I've seen in other places because it's just different.
Can we play a song that I wrote, and I'll talk about it after we play? A Better Life.
Bless you.
Ooh.
Came in hot.
Since I was a young child, I'd always loved to dream. I would always see myself somewhere I had never been. Love protected me from worrying, too young to wonder why. I didn't have to ask any questions, but with time came a big surprise. Too young to understand realities of life. Why with so much confusion? And hold on to my mind a better life, a better life. Yes. All I want right now is a better life, a better life, a better life. Yes. All I want right now is a better life. Many people worry, yes they do, and many of them try, but because of their skin color, it was so very hard to get by. I did not understand why so much misery and pain just to have a better life, but with very little to gain. A better life, I want a better life. Yes, all I want right now is a better life, a better life. Can I have a better life? Yes, all I want right now is a better life. Now my parents always told me, child, you'll always be free. Just keep on moving forward and you'll find your joy and peace. Pray, pray and take action. Treat people with love and care. Love a better life. Yes, all I want right now is a better life, a better life. Can I have a better life? Yes, yes, yes. All I want right now is a better life. Everybody that is living, everybody dreams to have the wants and desires, no matter what it may seem. You got to have strong faith, and you know that you have to have a plan. We got to be good to each other and share this great motherland. A better life, a better life. Yes. All I want right now is a better life, a better life, a better life. Yes. All I want right now is a better life. That's Leo Milano, he's 17. He's the one that's been with me since he was 8.
The chord,
Alto soprano. Alto soprano.
alto sax. The chord progression reminds me of Cab Calloway.
Really? And that's Caleb, the drummer. For those of us who know so much, and you have lots of luxuries. For those whose lives are headed there, come on and help guide them to their destiny. Whoever is in your life, no matter who they are, there's roads on their journey. So look up and you'll find your star. Do you really think your purpose is to suffer and no gain? Just go deep down, deep down, deep down within yourself and remove those mental chains. A better life, a better life. Yes, all I want right now is a better life, a better life. Can I have a better life? Yes, yes, yes. All I want right now is a better life. That's all we all want is a better life, isn't it?
That's it.
I recorded this song last year during the, with the pandemic and everything.
Right.
Of course, we were isolated, couldn't go anywhere and do anything. And it was like it became so much more stronger to me to have a better life because here we are in this pandemic. And now life is more of a struggle because now we have to be away from each other. We have to stay away from each other because we didn't know how this pandemic was happening. No one knew how it was coming to us, and then the assumption was that with us just being together was, would mean that we were going to die.
That's right.
And with
Like in
family and friends.
Like 1918, the
Yeah,
Spanish flu.
yeah, yeah. And so recording this song, I think it covers everyone. And we dream, we were once young, and now as we grew older, we had these dreams and that we wanted to fulfill. Many of us did get a chance to fulfill dreams, but then there were many of us, much more, that didn't get to fulfill our dreams. And so, as I was looking through your bio, David, I'm like, wow, I think you've covered lots of your dreams.
I've been very blessed.
You've been very blessed. So is it okay if I read your bio? And we'll talk about who's on that song with me later, okay? Because I want to get you. So, David Tepper, everyone. He's our guest this evening right here at the New Rhythm Arts Center. My name is Katherine Davis, and I'm so happy to have David Tepper here with us this evening, and we're happy to have you here as our listening audience, and we hope you're enjoying it. So I'm going to read David's bio because everybody know I like to get off on your bio. Okay, that's how I get off. All right, so David Tepper. David's passion for photography began after seeing the imagery of Edward Weston Imogen Cunningham and Irving Penn and others. He began photographing in the United States and in Italy at the age of 13 and has since devoted his 40-plus year passion to creating meaningful images from his River Forest home, where he maintains a darkroom that has been specially constructed for platinum palladium printing, 19th century printing process. David has many commercial and personal projects to his credit. As a portrait photographer, he has made many portraits of Native American and other cultures. David travels extensively to learn about and spend time with and to photograph people. Photography is a way of connecting with people and collaborating with them to create significant images. David's personal vision explores the spiritual and emotional aspects of people and place and is concerned with how the sacred is is recognized and expressed in everyday life. David is an award-winning documentary film photographer, videographer. David's film projects have garnered a number of awards, including multiple acclaimed film awards, multiple Tully Awards, multiple accolade, global film competitions, communicator awards, Impact DOC Award, and his project have been nominated for Emmy Awards. David's latest film project was the documentary D-Day Warriors. It was Our War II. That was primarily filmed in Normandy, France, for the 75th anniversary of D-Day. This film debuted on PBS last November 2020 and has been nominated for a regional Emmy. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I've been blessed.
You have been blessed.
I have.
And so tell us what you want us to know about what's not here. How much fun you had.
I had a lot of
and
fun.
the people that
Yeah.
opened up their hearts to you and trusted you to capture them, to be in space with them and be comfortable and tell their stories, because it's about telling stories.
It is.
Right?
It is. In photography, a single image doesn't tell a complete story. A single image tells more of a little poem. A series of photographs tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're lucky, and there's examples on the other side that one picture can tell us a big story, but that's rare.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at sequences.
Mm-hmm.
I look at doing a number of photographs of the same person, like the time I photographed you. We had a lot of fun, and I only made about 20 images of you.
Mm-hmm.
That was it, but they were a lot of fun to make, and it was about spending time together. I think photography is one of the only professions, depending on the camera that I bring, I can go, and I've been to a lot of Native American Indian reservations. I can bring a camera and start photographing, meet people, and all of a sudden have a family supper with someone. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of neat, and I think one could do that in photography down south, desert communities, anywhere one wants to go. It's one of the only professions.
And so when you're doing photography and you're capturing their images, is it more like it's a sense of you capturing their pride?
Well, philosophically, I don't use the word capture. In photography, I don't use the words shoot, take, or capture, because those are other verbs associated with certain things. I work collaboratively with people to create images. I have photo sessions, and I make images collaboratively. I don't believe that we can capture the essence of anybody, because a photograph is a split second in time. People have different instances. They have different personalities within them, different looks. So the best that I can do is to make someone comfortable enough in front of the camera such that we can make a meaningful image that they're proud of.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important thing, that if I make images and someone says that's a nice image, that makes me happy. Andre Taylor.
Oh, yeah.
He said he paid me one of the highest compliments I've ever been paid. He said that my photograph of him changed his life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's humbling. Mm-hmm. That's a responsibility. And
I feel the same way, because you captured a part of me, a sense of beauty.
Dignity.
Yeah.
That's what I look for.
I felt pretty.
Yeah, well, you are.
Well,
you're a beautiful woman.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. You are.
Thanks, David.
Photography means that much to me. I'm pretty philosophical about it. I'm not a paparazzi at all. I'm not a wedding photographer. That's just not what I do. Mm-hmm. I work slowly in a studio with strobes and all of that, and backgrounds and
So we come to you.
Yeah, yeah. And the blues thing, that project I have plans for. I'm trying to do a book. I've never done a book before,
Hmm.
but I've got a few um, places that are interested in doing an exhibition
Hmm.
in Europe and here in the United States.
Hmm.
And so let's see where it goes. I'm
Hmm.
having fun with it. And the blues community, they've just been fantastic.
So have you focused on other musicians, like, say, have you been down south and
Not yet.
photographed musicians or?
No, I started this during the pandemic. And so I would
Okay.
have people in the studio very carefully once a week. That was it.
Hmm.
When there are other projects that are happening at the same time around Chicago, there's a great project where they're filming people's stories, 594 miles from Chicago.
Right.
A great project. I met with the stakeholders of the project, the director and the creator and the other people on the team, because I wanted them to know that, one, I believe in what they're doing, but two, I'm not competing. My project is single images, one or two images of each person.
Hmm.
And in the creative arts, you just want to make sure that everyone's comfortable with what you're doing. But the blues people have come out, um, have loved being part of the project, at least my project, as well as the other project. One thing that I've noticed is that many blues artists are very not shy, but sensitive.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And
You
the
heard that right.
only
It's true.
time
It's
that
true.
they can really express certain things is when they're on stage.
Hmm. You need an audience. You need that energy from the audience to
Right.
give you that power to say,
Yeah.
"Ow!"
And that's interesting. I didn't realize that when I began, and it's with both men and women blues artists.
Hmm.
Um, and I've had certain blues artists say, I'm not ready for you to make my picture. I'm
Hmm.
not ready. I feel this, I feel that. I'm tired, I have bags under my eyes. I want to lose a couple of pounds.
Hmm.
Um, but besides all of that, when some people have sat for me in front of my camera, you can see the sensitivity and the nervousness.
Hmm.
And so that really, I didn't realize that musicians are as sensitive as other artists,
Hmm.
because it was an incorrect assumption on my part.
Hmm.
I thought that musicians had all the confidence in the world, because you stand up in front of thousands of people, perhaps, put on a show, make sure everybody has fun.
Hmm.
So it just never crossed my mind the amount of sensitivity that the artists might have. And I learned a lot,
Yeah.
men and women.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
liked that.
We're celebrating or we're remembering 9/11.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of footage on, that day. Um, I remember, actually 9/11 was the day my grandson, he turned 20 years old yesterday. I was at the hospital with him at Northwestern Hospital as he was being born.
Wow.
And I remember he was born somewhere around 4 or 5 in the morning. And I remember walking to my car, going to drive home. There was probably about 6. And I looked up and I saw the moon. And the moon was like a cookie that somebody had taken a big bite out of and just left a smile, and then the star was on the right. And I was like, wow, that looks so mystical, so beautiful, right? So I drive home, go to bed because I was tired, and I wake up and my husband had the TV on and it was showing, and I was like, what kind of movie is that? Because he doesn't watch movies, I was thinking it was a King Kong.
Right.
I was like, what are you doing watching King Kong? You know, it was just what, because it was out of nowhere. You know,
Right,
it was,
right.
it was shocking to everybody what was going on. So, then of course, you know, that was what was happening with the terror attacks and everything. So, were you here or?
I was in the Chicago area and I was working. And I was actually consulting for a company and doing some networking. I was working on their routers and their switches and firewalls. And the whole company went to crowd around a TV and they said to me, "Don't you want to see this?" And I said, "No." I said, naively, I said, "I'm not that important. If it's that big of news, it'll certainly be around after I'm done working." And it was, but I didn't want to pay attention at that moment. I
Yeah,
was earning a living.
right. Because it'll just stop you in your
It's-
tracks and
it's-
everything.
And I saw that happen with everybody, but I knew that it was powerful. I knew something was going on. I didn't know the details, but I said, let me just finish what I need to finish, and then I'll find out. And it was like a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
It was absolutely like a movie. It was like a cheap Roger Corman movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of those monster movies like
Yeah.
the King Kong or something. It was,
Yeah.
and the amount of hate
Yeah.
for
it
someone
was,
to do that, you know.
Yeah. And so, of course, the music business, everything, that stopped as well. Because I remember I was working at Andy's for jazz.
Oh.
And I thought about all of the musicians that was living overseas or over on tour.
Yeah.
And then with this happening, it was just, it was devastating.
Did
you
they
know,
get
for
stuck
everybody.
in places? Were they able to come home?
Yeah, they did. They
Okay,
did
good.
eventually come home. Everybody did come home. Yeah.
Right.
And so, but the music scene, that's when, if you were making big money back then, that was okay.
That was
they
it.
slashed it.
And what do you
The
think
club
the
slashed
connection
our
is?
pay, huh?
What do you think the connection is
What with the music
between
scene?
that event and loss of pay?
People were afraid, fear of everything. You know, that anything could happen. If that could happen in the
Right.
United States, something like that, which had never happened in my lifetime. I mean, well, there's been other wars that have happened in
Right.
other countries and stuff, but
Never on our soil.
not on our soil. It did. It affected it. Again, you know, there was the clubs closed or they stopped having live entertainment, and so everybody was just, the musicians were just, you know, the theaters. Everybody was just waiting, you know, waiting to see when everything was going to come back to life.
And do you find? I find that many politicians peddle fear as a way of control or a way of getting their
I
way.
agree. And to recognize the fear, and then you got to just keep on living, and you'll recognize it even before it turns the corner.
Right.
And that's the wisdom. That's part of our wisdom.
But that only comes with
None-
age.
It comes only with age, and I
Right.
call that being well seasoned.
I call it having a little snow on the roof. I like yours better, being well seasoned.
So I want to finish reading your bio, David. Let's see. Okay, so the film debuted on PBS. Okay, so throughout David's career, he has contributed his talents and time to many community-based and national charitable organizations. He has created compelling work that solicits contributions for such organizations as Trickster Cultural Center, National Gathering of Native American Veterans, Veterans Administration, Umoja Tribe, the Mayan Parliament, the Seventh Generation Fund, A Safe Place, Dr. Susan LaFleche
La Flèche Piquante.
Piquant, Center, and many others. Davis' work has been exhibited in numerous galleries and museums in the United States and Europe. His work has also been published in fine art magazines and other publications. David has been leading photographic workshops for many years. Recent workshops include mindfulness and photography, minimalism, don't tell me, minimalism in photography, as well as many private workshops.
Well done.
Right? All right. David is also an adjunct faculty member of Prairie State College and Joliet Junior College, where he teaches information technology, cybersecurity, and Cisco systems networking. David has recently been recognized as one of Cisco system top 10% educators globally. All right. So you were born in Rome, Italy, and you live with your partner, Peggy, and your dog, Enzo, and you are the father of two wonderful people, Nona and John.
Yes.
And to view David's other work, please visit his website address at
www.davidtepperphotography.com.
Say it again.
www.davidtepperphotography.com.
Now, let the audience repeat it.
And I must admit, I need to update. I haven't put a lot of projects up there or
That's pretty
awards.
cool. Yeah, I'm glad to have read your bio.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
And so with me reading it, now you like, okay, I
I
can do this,
knew,
move that
yeah.
around, and okay, make some changes, but that's okay. You
It
did
is.
it all on here, right?
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's quite an honor to have
It's
you
an
read the bio. Yeah, I've been very blessed, very lucky to have people trust me enough to make their portraits. The Susan LaFleche Picot project, Susan LaFleche Picot was the first Native American MD. She was a
Wow.
doctor. She graduated Women's College in 1897, I believe, as a Native American woman. And it's a different college now. It got bought, of course, and I can't recall the college name. But she went to a reservation, and with a horse and buggy, she covered, something crazy like 500 square miles by horse and buggy, and she built a hospital in 1905. She died in the hospital in 1912. Her descendants are also healers, and some of them are spiritual healers in certain Native American tribes, and they asked me to do portraits of them in the original hospital so that we could raise money and they could rehab the hospital and have it be a place, a health center again. And so that was really kind of a neat project, I thought. So when people ask me to do that, it's an honor to do that and to be involved
Awesome.
with that. I was been lucky enough to attend many sweat ceremonies with Native Americans, and Sundance ceremonies, humblechas, ghost dances, Mayan fire dances. I've done all of those things.
Awesome.
I truly believe that we are all equal,
Yes, I do. I agree.
and because of that, it's an honor to see cultures that I don't know of,
Yes.
and I can only do that with a camera. So that's what I mean. I've been blessed.
So I want to ask you about some colors too. Alex, what's the next song that we could put?
You should stay home.
Okay, this song. Okay, so I wrote this song. All these songs that you hear, I wrote them. This was from the pandemic. You should stay home. Okay. Because we care about ourselves, we should stay home. Because we care about ourselves. telling us to isolate ourselves.
We should stay home because
I'm
we
playing
care
piano also.
for one another.
You are?
Yeah.
I was going to ask you.
It's just
And that's
a
Mike
matter
Miller on
of
guitar.
time.
Oh, he is one of the
before we
nicest
get back
fellows.
together.
Wait.
We should quarantine and abide by some rules. We are not invincible, so you know we can't be no fool. Please don't be no fool. Stay in place until they say the coast is clear. It's just a matter of time before a cure is near. Yes. Every person's life, every person's love is precious. Yes, it is. Here or there and everywhere. Oh, yes, in the world. Our children, their parents, husbands and wives, mothers and fathers, the elders are the wise, who have seen so much more, a lot with their eyes. Everyone should try their best and be strong. And if we do the right thing, then we can't do no wrong. Everyone should try their best and be strong. And if we do the right thing, then we can't do no wrong. If we take responsibility, we can't do no harm. We can't do no harm, 'cause we don't want to do wrong. I want to see my family and friends, and yes, my neighbors, 'cause we are not invincible people. We're only humans, and we need that touch. Reach out to someone in need. But remember, we have to stay 6 feet away. Remember that now. We can throw a kiss, a hug, and we can feel each other in another kind of way. Allow Mother Earth to heal herself, and we'll do our part, so that we can all heal together. And it starts from our hearts, and together we can pray. Together we can pray. Together, 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 together we'll pray. Together, together we'll pray. And then it'll be a beautiful day. And that's why we should stay home, because we care about ourselves. We should stay home, because we care about ourselves. We should stay home, because we care one another. It's just a matter of time before we get back together, 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 together. A matter of
That was
That was beautiful. Great PSA. That's the nicest public service announcement I think I've ever heard.
that was me singing and accompanying myself on piano, and Mike Wheeler playing guitar accompanying
was
me.
beautiful.
Also.
That
We
was-
should stay home. I wrote that last year too. Last year I was just writing
Yeah,
everything because
that's
you
fun.
know that was it was like all these creative juices was flowing. It's like, well, okay, I'm at home now. What am I
What can
going
you
to do?
do?
Just sit
Right.
here and worry and stress myself out? No, let me write something. What I'm feeling right now,
That's a great way to handle it, yeah.
and to show that we care for one another, even though we don't know what's happening.
Right.
But let's care for one another because we don't know what's going to be of this. But so
I always had the feeling that, you know, with care, we'd be okay.
yeah, and that's what I know with your work. Your work
well,
is
thank you.
about care
It is.
and respect
yeah, it's
and love
and dignity.
and dignity, and it makes you happy,
It
keeps you younger.
I have I told my mother, again, I speak to her every morning. Her husband, her late husband, was my stepfather, and he was in his 80s when he passed. But he always had a childlike curiosity about things, and it kept him young. And I hope that I have the same thing. He was a very interesting man, and that was a trait that I hope I have as well.
So what's some of your next projects you have coming up?
Well, the Blues Project is going to take a lot. It's still ongoing. There's another project of people who are versed in the medicine of plants that I've spoken about with the project sponsor. So that's kind of a fun, that's another Native American project. And then I thought it might be fun to make photographs of Native American bikers, motorcyclists. I don't know if anyone's ever done that before.
Oh.
Yeah, so that might be kind of fun. But I do have an exhibit coming up for people who've lost children, Baby Lost Project. And so that's coming in October 2nd at Trickster Cultural Center.
And where is that?
That's in Schaumburg.
In Schaumburg.
Yes.
Okay. Well, David, thank you so much for being my guest this evening here. And we learn more about you now, so you're on the map.
Well, thank you. It's been
You're
an
on our
honor.
map through this window, through this
Yeah.
phase of just fans, friends, and family who are at home and just wanted to relax, be at home, enjoy, learn something, have a drink, whatever party favors they are, a glass of wine, whatever, and stuff,
water.
and listen to you, or some water, right? Cheers.
Cheers. It has truly been an honor.
That's it.
Any time spending with
Anytime.
you is always fun. I always smile.
Hi, Peggy.
Hey, Peggy. I don't know if she's watching, but,
And it's being pre-recorded,
Right.
right? So so you can watch this anytime after
Good.
the show is over, right, Alex? Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Alicia. Thank you so much for helping us keep this alive, because somewhere in the future it's valuable now. It's going to be even more valuable, right? Because these are captured moments of time,
That's right. It's a slice.
right, that may be overlooked by the media. This is our way of showing off our
And
our media,
creating.
creating media,
That's
our
right.
media,
That's right.
right?
Well,
All right.
what you're doing here is amazing. It really is interesting, and it really made me feel at home. So thank you.
And thank you to David Tepper, everyone. Give him a big round of applause. Do we have some guest that's online that?
We had Rita, and we had Alice, and we
Okay.
had Tom.
Okay, it's closed now. It's about to. Hi, my family and friends. How you all doing out there? I look forward to us getting together again. Yeah. Peace and love to you. Have a wonderful week.